Welcome to the Transforming Lives panel podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sharmin Prince, and I'm here with Mitzi, and we have a special guest. But before we continue, just join me in a quick grounding exercise. If you can, just close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Another deep breath in, and as you breathe in, just feel that breath and hold it. And as you exhale, let go of all the tension, the stress, the things that are incomplete, the things that you have to do for the evening. Just let it go. And take another deep breath in and hold that breath and feel the power of that breath. And then exhale and let go of all the tensions you might be feeling. And when you're finished, just join us back into the room. Thank you. And over to you, Mitzi.
Thank you, Sharmin. Great to start off with a little peace and tranquility. Well, I'm very excited because today we have Steve Cunningham as our guest. I've known Steve for about 3 or 4 years. I met him when he had a company called Read It For Me, and he has morphed into a new business. He has the distinction of being a lawyer for exactly 1 week, reading a business book a day for over a decade as part of his Read It For Me business. And he pivoted into AI and creating the world's largest AI transformation consulting network about a year ago. Before founding Simple Academy, Steve was the CEO at Read It For Me, transforming complex business and personal development insights into accessible multimedia formats. His earlier career also saw him at the helm of Polar Unlimited, a digital marketing agency that led innovations in client engagement across diverse industries. Steve holds degrees in math and economics from Colby College and a specialization in tax law from Western University. He currently lives in San Antonio, Texas, with his 3 beautiful girls, wife Marissa, and his daughters, Sophie and Emma, and 2 rambunctious dogs, Molly and Finn. Okay, well, I love dogs, cats, and all animals, so we're good.
The one big thing is, like, I'm not going to get fired. That's ultimately what they're worried about, because they have bills to pay, they have a family, they have all of these things that if their job was taken away, things would be very hard. And so ultimately what folks are looking for is psychological safety. And the biggest thing along that is, we are not going to fire you if you learn how to do your job with AI. We're going to give you more responsibility. We're going to promote you within the organization. And so ultimately that needs to come from the leader of the team and the leader of the organization. So when we're working with organizations, we ask them to take the AI productivity pledge. So we do this at our own company. Some of our clients are doing this as well, which is, we give you this, what we call an AI role plan, which is, you need to go investigate how AI can be useful across at least 64 tasks that you're doing in your role. So it's comprehensive and it takes a long time. And by the end of it, people have found a significant amount of productivity gains, usually on the order of somewhere between 2 and 5 times the productivity that they would have been producing before. Or put another way, like, if their job didn't change today forward, they can do their job, in 2 to 5 times less amount of time. So the AI productivity pledge is, if you go and do this, not only will we not fire you, we will give you a raise above and beyond what you otherwise would have gotten just as a standard pay raise. And if it's appropriate, we will give you a promotion. And so I think that is the psychological safety that people are looking for. Like, ultimately, at the end of the day, all we want are the same things that we've always wanted. We want whatever our hopes and dreams are. It just happens to be that a lot of our hopes and dreams are tied in with our careers and how much, ultimately how much income we bring in. And so people don't want to see that taken away. And if you can flip the script on it and say, hey, not only are we not going to eliminate you or your role, we're going to turn this into something that propels you towards your hopes and dreams, whatever those happen to be. That's where people feel safe, and then thus throw themselves into this work with as much effort as they can, because they know that it's ultimately going to be a good thing for them and not a bad thing. And also, I think from the most people, that's all they can see in front of them is what's right in front of me, which is how do I not get fired because of AI? Because that's all you hear about in the news. But there's a meta, like this is just going to accelerate over time. This is not going to slow down. So the AI tools are as bad as they're ever going to be today. They're going to continue to get infinitely better. So there's no possible way that you plus AI, like there's no possible way that you without AI does a better job than you with AI. So like if you compare it that way, it's like there's no option here where you without AI win. And so the only option is how can you do this with as much effort as you possibly can, even if your job is going to be eliminated. You resisting all of this will make not one lick of difference. So there's no real option, even if you think about it from those second and third order perspectives. The only real option that anybody has is to jump in, learn these skills so that you can become even more valuable in the marketplace moving forward, even if that's not at your same company or in the same role that you're in today.
Thank you. It's my curiosity. Are CEOs and business owners open to accepting AI into their companies?
I think it's, certainly there are some people who are, and there are some people who still have the resistance. So it's like not a role-based thing. It's some CEOs don't understand it and they still have a lot of resistance to it. So especially at a higher level, once you show them the potential productivity gains, because there are very few organizations who have figured out how to actually get provable productivity gains with AI. So this is not like a well-known fact at the moment that this is exactly what will happen if you adopt AI, and here are the productivity gains, and we even give a guarantee when we're working with folks that we guarantee the results. So once you do that, and once you show them that we're putting our money where our mouth is, so to speak, we're much more open to it. But there's still concerns. So there's a lot of privacy concerns still that need to be worked out. And so there's certainly the adoption curve where I think we're still, from a company perspective, even though a lot of individuals have been using AI since November 2022, and that just accelerates every day. We're still, from a company perspective, very early on in the adoption cycle. So we're still in the very early adopter phase from a company perspective. But at the same time, those things are just going to get worked out, and because the gains are so much better than not using the tool, that all of those things will just get worked out along the way.
Thank you.
When you're working with organizations and with people, are you finding that sort of smaller to mid-sized companies or mid-sized to larger companies are embracing it more, or is it really not sort of company size, but rather just sort of who's the individual at the helm of that particular organization?
I think certainly the larger the company, the more is at stake, and they're much more likely to have resistors inside of the company who will be able to block the organization from doing something today. So like usually it's the legal department or it's the IT department. So most technology goes through the IT department, even though this is kind of like a general purpose technology, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense for the IT department to be making these decisions. but that's kind of where it goes. And so usually when things are unclear or there's these risks that they don't truly understand how to wrestle to the ground, like the first thing a larger company will do is just pump the brakes on it and say, like, nobody can use this until we figure it out. And then it takes some time to figure out. So certainly smaller companies will adopt this faster because they'll have less red tape to work through in order to get people into it and productive. So I think there is definitely, so I think that's one perspective. The other way to look at it is larger organizations are much more likely to have a top-down approach to this. So we're going to control this, as many ways as we possibly can and be very prescriptive about things that you can't do and can do. Whereas smaller organizations, and I think this is true of anything that these different sizes of companies, like the policies that they'll enact, a smaller company is going to have less policy and procedure than a very large company, which means they can do the bottom-up approach quicker because they're going to have less restrictions on it. But ultimately, it is where we're seeing the most success would be in, the SMB market, where it's large enough so that they can see these massive gains, but small enough so that they're not stuck in a bunch of bureaucracy and red tape, which is they're all nobody has bad intentions around creating. There's a reason why red tape exists, because in larger companies the stakes are a lot higher. Something goes horribly wrong, the impacts are much greater at a larger company. So anyways, I think it's a nuanced discussion around those things, but that's, I guess, my general thoughts on it.
If you were somebody, one of our listeners watching, who really is just sort of like, ooh, okay, this AI stuff, I've kind of heard about it, what should I do? What would you recommend as the steps that they take to start to be getting involved in AI and making themselves valuable to their organizations?
Yeah, so there's 3 mindsets that we always, whenever we're doing training, we're always reminding people of. And I think these would be the 3 things that I would leave with folks if I could only leave a few things. One is to work on your work. So as you're using AI, don't do things in general, but work on your work. Try to figure out ways to do your work faster and easier with AI. So don't learn prompt engineering. Don't go, you're trying to write a poem or these cool things you're seeing other people do, or do videos. Like, figure out, how do I do this task that I'm trying to do in my job faster and easier with AI? And the easiest way to do that is to open up the AI and say, how do I use AI to insert task here faster and easier, and start to explore. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, always think AI first. So this one is, whenever you're doing something, think about, how could AI help me do whatever it is that I'm doing, and do that everywhere in your life. Let's just say maybe you have kids who don't listen to you as much as you'd like them to listen to you, which is something that I experience almost daily. They're wonderful kids, but sometimes they're not doing the things I would like them to do. So that's an opportunity to start to explore, how can I tap into AI to help me do those things. And most of the time we're like, well, I don't know how AI could help me. And so our instruction there would be, well, that's when you go to AI and say, this is what I'm working on right now. Here's an obstacle that's in my way. How can you help? So always AI first. And if you don't know where to start with AI first, you ask the AI, where do I start? So that's number 2. And then number 3 is, we've created something called a daily AI growth journal, which is start to document, just like you would try to document any other new habit you're trying to create. Start tracking your progress and do it daily. And the daily habits become they ultimately will create the best possible results. Like in any, people are trying to lose weight, or if they're trying to stop smoking, or they're trying to write, become a better writer. It is widely known that doing daily tracking for a whole bunch of reasons gets the best possible results. So track your progress every day on you doing those things, and ultimately try to keep that streak alive as much as humanly possible. And I think this is going to be it's going to be a long marathon of sprints. And I think if you become, the only way to get good at AI is to use AI. It's like riding a bike. You cannot consume your way to getting good at this. You need to do it, and you need to do it daily in order to make the most progress possible. So those would be the three things I would strongly urge folks to do if they're looking for ways to get started.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for that. How can someone participate or gather more information on the Simple Academy?
Yeah, so we have a website, simpleacademy.ai. We end up working with, like I said, a community of consultants. And I think we probably have and there are things that you can get through our consultants that you can't get anywhere else. So I think we got a link that you can share with your listeners that would enable them to get into some of the learning that we've produced, and also some of the features that you wouldn't otherwise have access to through just coming to our website in general. So I think if you want to get that link out to your folks, we can do that, and we would love to love to have you in our community.
Thank you.
We will make sure that is in the show notes that we've got a link. Before we let you go, if you were to use your crystal ball and look forward and say, what do things look like in businesses 2, 3, 5 years from now with everything that, is coming in the forward front with AI?
Well, I think one of the things that there's a bunch of people that are building these AI tools, and one of them is OpenAI, which is the company that created ChatGPT, and they've done a good job of trying to communicate with folks about like what should you expect in the future. And so they've got these 5 stages of AI, and stage 1 is chatbots, which is what most people are familiar with, which was things like ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot. And the stage 2 is the stage that we're kind of straddling right now, is these tools that will do human-like reasoning. And so the tools are already at a level where they're doing PhD level analysis. They're now, world-class developers in terms of coding. And so these tools are now able to reason at the level of elite human reasoners, which is now taking it from like, hey, this tool can do customer service replies, to it can now do a lot of the thinking work that most people in leadership positions would say, well, there's no way the AI is going to replace me. Well, unfortunately, your brain for many things is no longer required because this tool can do it better. So that's kind of like stage 2. And we're going to start to see this play out in management roles, certainly in middle management roles at companies. And then stage 3 is when we create these agents. So the AIs will start to actually execute tasks on behalf of us, go off and do work, which they currently can't do. You need to manage all of the work that's being produced by an AI, but in the future, it'll start to do work on its own. You just give it a goal, and it'll go start to do it. And then there's stage 4, which is it'll be an innovation machine that you can use to invent new things. Like the best, easiest way to think about it is like it'll start creating new drug formulas that can cure disease. Like that's an example. And the 5th one is you'll think an organization into existence, and then like poof, like you've typed a command or used a phone with your voice, and you've now spawned an organization. So nobody knows what that means and what that looks like when we get to the 5th stage of that. And we're only at straddling the 1st and 2nd stage. So I don't have any real predictions about how fast this happens, but ultimately that'll be the stages that we work through. And most people believe that it's going to be, if you think about when ChatGPT really came out, it's been a couple years. Basically, 2 years per stage would be kind of like the aggressive target. So, but it might take longer. But ultimately, these tools are already starting to take over work. And one of the stories we like to say, there's a book called The Black Swan, and it talks about these rare events that happen that have huge impacts, like stock market crashes that you can't really see coming. And one of the ideas in that book is don't be a turkey. So they talk about the existence of a turkey where, every single day it's getting fed, it's being cared for, it's having this, for the most part, all of its needs being taken care of. And then all of a sudden Thanksgiving comes along and it finds out that, things are not what they seemed. And so the idea is don't be a turkey. Do not believe that this trend is not going to continue, and get proficient with all of these things now so that whenever these changes happen, you're ready. And that would be my best advice for anybody is this cycle will continue. We've only scratched the surface of what's possible, and to ignore it would be a very bad thing.
Wow. Thank you for the recommendation. I'll go read The Black Swan.
It's a tough read, to be honest, but fascinating.
But you could get ChatGPT to give you a 15-minute book summary on it.
You can get a really good book summary on it. You could also, this was when we realized that we were going to be in tough with these AI. You can get a summary of it, but you can also tell it to tailor it to your exact circumstances, to whatever problem you're working on. So yeah, you can certainly get a good summary of the Black Swan by asking any of these AI tools for sure.
Okay.
Actually,
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I think you just hit on something there, which was that you can get it to customize it to you, right? So, and that is what is so unique about what the AI tools can do. It's like, okay, take this book and give me a summary based on my occupation or my lifestyle or whatever, and summarize it and adapt it and how it can help me in my world. And I think that that's something that's totally new, right? Because it was what we used to get was just the information, but now you can get the information adapted and personalized to yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's once we realized that was when we knew that like it's not only faster and easier, but in this case it's like infinitely better for each individual to do this on their own, to get the customized version of this. So the second and third order consequences on that would be if anybody can create content, but they can also get it personalized exactly for them and their exact situation. The creation of any static content is of almost no value anymore because everybody can create a better version of whatever they're looking for themselves. And you can create full courses this way. You can write an entire book this way. So it's like everybody is going to mass produce information for themselves. And me producing something for you would be of no value to you because you can just go and do it, get a customized version of it for yourself. And I think that's one of the big things, like one of the dangers is not thinking in these second and third order consequences. Everybody sees these shiny objects like, well, I'm going to go create a course with AI and I'm going to sell it with AI. Well, like if everybody starts doing that, it's of no value. And also one of the promises of AI is that every piece of information is customized for you and for your exact circumstances. So I would think through that as you're wrestling with AI so that you don't waste a lot of time working on things that will ultimately not be any long-term competitive advantage. And we all get stuck in those mindsets because we were showing people how to create courses when that first came out. But ultimately you start to think about it in those terms. Well, if I can do this, that means everybody can do it. And if everybody can do it, everybody will do it. And if everybody does do it, what does that mean? And you can start to nudge your way forward to try to find things that would be valuable even if everybody was doing it, if that makes any sense. So I think that's an important skill to develop, of thinking in second and third order consequences, which very simply would be, here's something that I can do, but if I can do it, that means everybody can do it. And if everybody can do it, they will do it. What does that mean? Would be the way to think through these things.
Thank you so much. This is really enlightening. I'm sure that people are probably going to listen to this episode a few times because they're going to pick up so many things. And so like, okay, what did he say about that? I got to go have a circle back and find out about it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the Transforming Lives podcast panel. We Sharmin and I and Steve, thank you for joining us today and wish you all a fabulous week, and we will see you again.
Podcast. We hope that you received some nuggets of wisdom and seeds to plant along your journey of transformation. If you enjoyed what you heard today, we encourage you to let us know and to share us with those that matter in your life. If you would like to connect with anyone from the panel or our guest speaker, you can find all of the ways to connect in our show notes. We have so much gratitude for you, and we are so thankful to be a part of your day. Until next time, take great care. So much for joining us today on Transforming Lives Panel Podcast. We hope that you received some nuggets of wisdom and seeds to plant along your journey of transformation. If you enjoyed what you heard today, we encourage you to let us know and to share us with those that matter in your life. If you would like to connect with anyone from the panel or our guest speaker, you can find all of the ways to connect in our show notes. We have so much gratitude for you, and we are so thankful to be a part of your day. Until next time, take great care.